感谢商务部中山部
Thank you
长。
very much to Minister of Commerce, Mr.
大
Zhongshan.
家好，
Good afternoon.
好，我们现在开始提
All
问，
right, now the floor is open for questions.
请南区第二排中间这位男士提问。
The gentleman from the second row, please.
谢谢主持人。每日
Thank
经
you
济
very
新闻
much,
记者
moderator. And with
疫
daily
情发生
news,
后，全球经济
since
受
the
到
outbreak,
冲击
the world
国外
economy
外
has
资
been
是严
severely
在这个背
affected.
景下
China faces
中央
challenging
强调要稳
situations
住
in
外
foreign
贸外资
trade.
基本盘。
Against such
请问中部长，
backdrop,
您是怎么看
China
这个
aims
情况
at stabilizing the fundamentals of foreign trade, and what are the measures you plan to take to achieve this? Thank you very much for your question.
稳住外贸外资基本盘呐，
Stabilizing the fundamentals of foreign capital and foreign trade
国务院的
is a
决策部署。
very important decision made by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council. We have to thoroughly implement this
三个方面
decision.
回答你的问题。
I want to answer this question from three perspectives.
稳住
First,
外贸外资基本盘，
stabilizing the fundamentals of foreign trade and foreign capital
外贸外
is
资啊
of paramount importance.
是
Foreign capital
改
and
革
foreign
开放
trade
的重要内容，
is one integral part of China's opening up and reform
重大
drive, and it's also an important achievement of China's
40多年
opening
来，
up and reform
我国的外贸
initiative.
外资啊，
And over the past 40 years, China has increased dramatically in terms
为
of
我
foreign
国
capital
经
and
济社
foreign
会的
trade,
发展做出了重要的贡献
which in itself is a great contribution to China's social and economic development.
主要体现
And
在
this
以下几方
contribution
面
can be reflected in the following areas.
对经
First,
对经济增长的贡献，
it's a contribution to economic growth. Foreign capital
成
and
为我
foreign
国
trade
经济增长的重要拉动力。
are a major driver of China's
在
economic
对
growth.
财政税收的
It's also a great contribution to
外
China's
贸外资对我
fiscal
们国
revenue.
家财政的贡献
Foreign
超
capital
过
and foreign trade
25%。
contributed more than 25% to China's government revenue.
这个还有第四呢，对第三对
Foreign
我
capital
们
and
国家
foreign
就业
trade
的贡献。
is also a great contribution to China's
这
employment.
个外贸外资啊，直击
Foreign
间接
trade
的
and
就业
4 capital
超过2亿人，
can contribute directly or indirectly
其中呢
200 million
8000多万
jobs, among
为
which 80
农
million
民工。
80 million jobs are provided for China's migrant workers.
这个外贸外资啊，
In addition to all this, foreign capital and foreign trade
开放性经济的发展
have also made great contribution to China's open
外贸
economy.
外资啊
Foreign capital and foreign trade
引进来，为
features
我国
a two-way communication of the economy, and it has made a
做出
solid
了重要的贡献。
contribution to China's economy going global.
稳住
So that is why stabilizing the fundamentals of foreign capital and foreign trade
事关
is
我国的
of paramount
改革
importance
开放、
and is very important to China's open up and reform,
社会发
and
展
also
的大
very
局。
significant to the fundamentals of China's social and economic development.
第二点，
Second,
稳住外贸外资，
stabilizing foreign capital and foreign trade
我们从
has to entail the following efforts from the foreign trade perspective.
最主要的是要稳住外贸。
The most important is to
现在
stabilize foreign trade entities.
超过
At
30万
present,
家，
we have more than 300,000
包括
foreign invested entities in China. This includes private enterprises, state-owned enterprises, as well as foreign-owned
面对
enterprises.
疫情的冲击，这些企业啊
Against
遇到
the
了前所未有的。
pandemic, these
那么
enterprises
这些困难啊，
are confronted
有一
with
些呢
unprecedented
企业
challenges,
通过自己的努力，
and some enterprises were able to solve the difficulties through their own strengths, and some entities
党中央
have to rely on the support of the
院
government.
是高
The
度的
CPC Central Committee and the State Council attach great importance to these entities,
财政税收、
and we have provided
金融、保险、
wide range of support in terms of
产业链、
financial
供应链
support, financing, supply
在
chain,
政策上予以
and
帮助，
procurement chain.
降低了企业的压力，
Our efforts have helped those enterprises to
这个
reduce their
也
burdens
激发了企业的。
and mitigate their risks, and also to
我们认为，
invigorate
只要我
their
们国
vitality.
家的
And we believe
外贸主体，
that as long as the entities of foreign trade in our
那么
country
我们国家的
are stable,
就
then
一
the
定
fundamentals of
稳
foreign
住。
trade can be stabilized and further developed.
我们再从外资来看，
From the perspective of foreign capital,
做好
we have to do very well the following.
第一呢，
One,
要扩大外资的增量，
we have to expand the added value of foreign capital.
进一步扩大
And this requires us to further
放
expand
宽市
our
场准入，
foreign openings, to relax
缩短
limitations
清
on
单，
foreign capital entry,
还
and
需要
to
我们
shorten the inactive list.
搭建
And this also entails
更高
that
水
we
平的
build
对外开放
a
平台，
higher level platform for foreign
特别是
openings.
要建设好
In particular,
自由贸易试验区、
we have to do a good job in
自由
building
贸易港，
FTZs and free trade ports
让外国投资
so
者
that foreign
愿
investors
意来
are willing to settle here in China.
第二项工作呢，
The second very important job is to
外资的存量
stabilize the inventory of foreign capital.
要贯彻落实好
And to do so,
外商投资法，
we have to comply with the foreign investment law
公平
and create a
透明
fair,
的
just,
营商环境，
and transparent business environment
保护
so that we can protect
这个权益、
the rights and interests of foreign
知识产
investment.
权，
And this includes their
外商啊
intellectual property rights
能够心里放心，
so that foreign
安心。
investors can be
愿意在
reassured
中国投资。
in
在
conducting investment in China.
随着我们国家环境的改善，
With China improving its business
经
environment,
济的发展，
with China further improving its economy and further expanding its market, we are confident
聪明的外商
that smart foreign
并不会
investors
放弃中国
will
庞大的
never
市场。
allow this opportunity to go easily.
我要讲的第三点是，
Another point I would like to make is that stabilizing the fundamentals of foreign trade and foreign capital
主要任务
has the following tasks.
一是要稳
One,
定我国外贸外资在全球的
we have to
大国地位，
stabilize the overall position of foreign capital and foreign trade in China.
外贸外资
And also,
对
second,
经济社会
we
发
have
展
to stabilize the contributions of foreign trade and foreign capital to economic development. We
在习近
believe
平同志为
that
核心的党中央
under
坚
the
强
leadership of the
主导下
CPC Central Committee with President Xi
全国
Jinping
上下
at its core and with the joint efforts of the whole
外贸外
country,
资
foreign
这
capital
个
and
基本
foreign
盘就
trade
一定能够稳住。
will
谢谢大家。
stabilize its fundamentals here in China.
请
Thank
继续
you.
提问，
Next question, please.
请北区第3排中间这位女士。
The lady from the third row, please.
部长您好，我是中央广播电视总台中国国际电视台的记
I'm
者。
with
我们知道
CGTN.
5月18号，中国商务部
On May
发
the
布仲裁公告，
on May the
并且
18th,
开
the
始征收澳大利亚
Commerce
的大麦
Ministry
的
issued
这个
a
相关的
announcement
反倾销税
to
和反补贴
levy
税。那么从外界认为，这
anti-doping
与当
tax
前
on
中澳
Australian
双边
wheat.
双边关系的恶化有关。
And this is
从外界
believed to
看来，
be
这是中方采
relevant
取的
to
反制
the
手段，
worsening
请能
of
对此有评论
China-Australia
谢谢。
trade relations. And what is your response to this
这
claim?
个
Thank you for your
中
question.
国这个对澳大利亚的大买反倾销、反补贴案件确实近
The
期成为一个
anti-doping
热点。
on Australia-produced wheat
给
has
大家
triggered some
做一个介绍。
speculations, and I would like to take this opportunity to
中国
make some
对
clarifications.
澳大利亚
First,
进口大买启动了这个反补贴、
China has initiated a
反倾销、反补贴的
anti-subsidy and anti-doping
这是
investigation
我们
on
国家
Australia imported
依法
wheat,
采取的贸易救济措施。
and this is a
这个时间呢
trade
是
policy
2018 年
initiated
的
by the Chinese government,
年底。
and we
现在呢，
studied this investigation from actually the end of 2018.
在这个过程当中我们是广泛的
And in this process,
利益
we
相
have
关方的
listened
意见，
to the opinions of relevant stakeholders,
保障了中欧双方企业的
in this process, we also protected the rights and interests of
中国
businesses in both China and Europe.
对这个案子
And secondly,
进行了为期1年
the
半的
relevant regulatory bodies of China engaged in a
这个调查
1 year
当
and
中
a half investigation over this
我
deal.
们发现
And from the investigation, we have
澳大
learned
利亚
that
对大买
Australia
存在补贴，
is actually subsidizing its
存
barleys.
在它的大买呢存在倾销，
And there is also the doping facts
这个
over
而且呢
the Australia imported
对
barley.
我国的产业
And this
造成了
doping
严重的损害。
has resulted in severe harms to relevant industries here in China. And third,
这个中国对于采取贸易救济措施是慎重的。
China takes a precautious attitude in adopting or taking
中
trade
国与澳大利
remedy
亚建
measures
交以来
since establishing diplomatic relations with
对澳
Australia.
大利亚发起的贸易救济调查，
China has
只有这一起，
launched only one trade investigations
就是刚才你说的
over
澳
Australia,
大利亚的大买
and that is
反倾销
over
反补
the anti-doping and
同
anti-subsidy
期
of
澳
Australia
大利亚
imposed
对中国发起的
imported
贸易
wheat.
救济调
On the
查
contrary,
多少呢？告诉大家，100起。
more than 100 investigations have been initiated by the Australian side over
疫
China.
情蔓延的背景下，
And amidst the coronavirus pandemic this year,
3起，
the Australian side has initiated 3 investigations over
而我们中国呢
Chinese imported
今年以来
goods.
没有
And
对
since the
任何
beginning
一
of
个
this year,
国家
China has
发起
launched
贸易救济调查。
no trade remedy investigations over any country.
在现在疫情全球蔓延的
So at a time when the pandemic is still ravaging
世界贸易
across the
组织
world,
的成员国，
I call on all the members of the WTO to be united against the pandemic and be precautious while
请继续提问。
adopting trade remedy measures. Next question, please.
请南区第一排中间这位女士。
The lady sitting in the center of the first row in the south zone.
谢谢主持人，我是
Thank
新
you
华社
very
记
much.
者。
I'm with Xinhua
在
News
此次全球
Agency.
抗击疫情中，中国做了很大
Amidst
贡
the
献，向
pandemic,
世界
China
提
has
供了
made
大量的防疫
enormous
物资。
contributions
但国
providing
际上也有不同的声
a
音，
great number
有的说
of
中国政府在限
medical
制出口，
supplies to the
也有
world,
的说
but
中国出
some
口的防
say
疫物
that
资质
China
量
is
有问题。
limiting
请问钟部长对此你怎么
exports,
看？
and
能否
some
介绍
say
一下
there is
中
a
国在这方
quality
面的
issue
相关工
on
作？
the
谢谢。
medical supplies provided by China, and what is your comment on this? Thank you for your
这
question.
个首先我要说的是，中国
First of all,
没有对这个医疗物资出口提
China
出限制。
is not controlling
我们是
the export
这
of
个开
those
放的。
medical supplies. We are quite open
特别
to
是
the option,
全球疫情爆发以来啊，
especially since the outbreak of
影
COVID-19.
响199个国家
China has
和地区
already connected with 199 countries and regions with the export of colossal medical supplies.
中国呢，也为全球应对疫情做出了
For the
重要的
entire
贡献
globe to respond to the pandemic, China is a great
这是
contributor.
体现了中国的大国担
This
当，
demonstrates the responsibility of China as a
构
big
建
power,
人类命运共同
and
体
it
的
also manifests the concept of building a community with a shared future for mankind.
可以说
The actions on the part of
许多
China
国家的
are
赞赏。
highly commended by many nations.
刚才你还讲到的，
As
第
you
二个问题
mentioned in your
有些
second
国家
question,
质疑
some
中国
countries
出口物资的质量。
are questioning the quality of the exported products
我
from China.
想讲的是，中国
What I can
政府
say
高
is
度
that the
重视
Chinese government highly values the quality of the medical supplies exported overseas.
这个我们已经建立了从商品生产
From
到
the
标准
production
认证，
to
再到
the
口岸的监管
certification and supervision at the ports,
医疗物资监管
we
体系
have managed to build such a complete system for the
我们国家
medical
所有的
supplies.
出口的医疗物资
So, in general, we could guarantee the quality of those exported
这个
medical supplies.
我们中国医疗物资的出口呢，大致可以分成3类。
And there are 3 categories of those medical
第一类
supplies.
呢，是我们国家
First,
对其他国家的无偿援助，
the grants offered to the other countries. That has covered 150 countries.
是
The second category
政府向中国政府提出要求，
belongs to
啊，希
the
望
products
帮助
required by the governments of the other nations. They ask for help
第三
from
类呢，
China.
外国的企
And
业
third,
到中国
the foreign
开
enterprises
始呢商业采购。
may be procuring products in China.
前面2种
The first 2 categories of the
物资
3
的质量是有保障的，
could fully guarantee
啊
the
到现在
product's
没有
quality.
出现
For now, there has never been any
那
issue
么对第
occurring
3种
as to the
外
third
国企业到
category,
中国的采购
which is actually the procurement of foreign enterprises in China. There
这
surely
个问
has
题
been
来自
some
于2
issues,
个方面。
and there are 2
一方面
pronged.
呢，
Firstly,
中国的企业在标准的认证
in the certification
存
and
在问题。
the quality confirmation of those
那么
products,
中国
the
呢，
Chinese enterprises may be problematic,
采取了措
and
施，
the Chinese government has already taken some measures to crack down upon such illegal behaviors.
啊，
Those
医疗物资的
ill-performing enterprises are banned from the export of
还有一
medical
方面的问
supplies
题呢
continuously.
是来自于外国企业
And the other reason for that issue
这些外国
is
企业的主要
because
问
of
题
the foreign enterprises.
是把非医疗用品啊、非医疗物资、
The non-medical supplies
医疗
are put into this third category. For example, facial masks.
啊，分成
In
医疗
China,
的和
there are
非医疗。
medical purposes and non-medical purposes for the facial masks.
非医用口罩
And those foreign
送
enterprises
进了医院，
may have mistaken those non-medical facial masks as medical ones, and they
这是非常
offered
危险。
those facial masks to hospitals for even clinical usage.
那么实际
That's
上呢，
quite
我们知
dangerous.
道啊，
In
一
effect,
些国家发现这个问题以后，
As we know, after discovering this problem in certain nations, such foreign enterprises have been sanctioned
方的
and penalized by the foreign governments.
这个
So that is
下一步
the
呢，
issue on the part of the importer, not the exporter.
相关
And
的
in
国
the
家
future,
需要依
as long as certain nations are in need of such medical supplies,
还会一路继往地
China will continue to support them.
谢谢，
Thank you.
好，感谢钟部长，谢谢您。
Thank you, Minister
好
Zhong.
好，谢谢您。
谢谢，谢谢大家。
Thank you for your questions.
下面我们有请下一位部长。
Now let's invite the next minister.
感谢工业和信息化部苗圩部长。
Now let's welcome
多年在
Minister
部长头上
Miao
接受
Wei
大家的采访。
of Industry and
好
Information
各位记者
Technologies.
朋友们，大家下午好。
Good afternoon,
虽然
ladies
我
and
们
gentlemen.
相隔一段距离
Even though we are
但是
distant
我们还是
from each
好
other,
像就在近在咫尺一样。
but it feels like you are face to face with me.
来回答记者朋友们。
I'm happy to take your questions today.
好，下面请大家提问，
Now the floor is open.
请北区第二排中间这位女士。
The lady in the second row in the North region.
谢谢主持人，我是
Thank
人民
you.
日报记者
I'm from
苗部
People's
长您
Daily.
好。政府
Good
工作报告
afternoon,
对帮助
Minister
中小
Miao.
企业提出了许多举措。
According to the
请
government
问
work
工信部
report,
将
there are
如何抓
several
好落
measures
实
for
帮中小企业
SMEs.
度过
So
难
how
关？
will
谢谢。
MIIT implement
好，谢谢
those
您。
measures to help
党中央国
SMEs?
务院呢
Thank
高
you
度
for
地
your
重视
question.
中
The
小企
CPC
业的
Central
发
Committee
展
and the State Council
习
highly
近平
values
总书
the
记呢
development of SMEs.
在疫情
General
防控
Secretary
期间
Xi
多次做出
Jinping
重要的指
has
示批示
repeatedly
要求我们
given
呢
instructions
关注中
during
小企
the
业的困
outbreak
难
of
帮助中小
COVID-19
企业呢
about
度过
helping the
眼前的难
SMEs
关
out of such
李克强总理
difficulties
呢
right
也
now.
组织
And Premier Li
召开国务
Keqiang
院
also
常务会
chaired some
听取汇报
meetings in the
研
State
究
Council.
支持
He
中小
listened
企
to
业
the
的政策
reports and studied the
在这一
policies
次政府
about
工作报告
supporting
当中
SMEs.
有十几
In
处
this year's
提到
government
了
work
支
report,
持中小企业
about
的发展
dozens of
今年的政
those
府工作报告呢
suggestions
一共
are
20页
about
关于
the
支持企业
SMEs.
发
In
展
the
的
20
战略
pages of the
篇
government
幅
work report,
可见
SME
我们对
related
中
issues
小企
cover
业的
one
重
whole
视
page.
和
That
关
is
心
how the Chinese
那么
government
去
pays
年呢
attention
我
to
们对
SME
中
development.
小企业在内的
Last
广大
year,
的这个企业呢
for the
降
vast
低了
number of enterprises,
税费。
including SMEs,
那
we
么
have
今年呢
reduced
还
the
要延续
taxes
这个
and
政策，因为
charges.
去年
This
降
year,
低
such a
呢不是
policy
全年
will be sustained
是
because last year
4月
such
份5月份开
reduction
始的
doesn't cover the entire year. It
另
only
外，针
starts
对今年
since
疫
April
情
and
的
May.
防控形
But
势
this year
呢
it will
我
be
们又
throughout the
开
whole
了
year.
一系列的
And also
财
this
税
year, because of the
金融
COVID-19,
社
a
保
series of
能源
financial,
等等这
social
方面的政策
insurance, and
中央政府呢，大概
energy-related
一
policies
共
are laid
出台
out.
了有
The
90
Central
条
Chinese government
90
introduced
条
about
各项的
90
这个政策
different
对
policies
中小企业
concerning
的发
the
展
above.
还是起到了很
So
大的
those
促进作用
policies are
对
quite
广大的中小企业呢
an
克服
encouragement
目前的
to
困
the
难，也
SME
会起到
development.
这
They
个效
will
果。
help
那么
the
之所以
SMEs
这么
to
做
come out of
我觉得
such
就是
epidemic.
在政府工作报告
I think
里头用的8个
As
字
has been
叫
specified in the
留
government
得
work
青山
report,
赢得未来。
we want
那
to
么作为工业和信
sustain
息化
those
部
SMEs
作
in
为
order to earn a better
这个
future.
国家促进中小企业发
On
展
the part of MIIT, one ministry to support SMEs, we will work on
第
three
一呢，就
fronts.
是发挥
Firstly,
好国家
we
促进
will
中小企业
give
发
play
展领导小组办公
to
室的作用，
the
督促各
leading
相关的
group
部门
office
把这些
of
好政策
SME
尽快
support
地能够
so
制定
that
起
those
和落实
policies
下去。
will be
第
implemented
二
in
个
a
呢，
timely
就是
fashion.
进一步地督促
And
各
secondly,
地
we will
促
urge
进中小
different
企业发展的
localities
机制
to
也要
establish
发挥
mechanisms
作
to
用
support
能够
SMEs.
结合当地的实
We
际
must
为
fully
本地
consider
的这个
local
中小企业呢
conditions and
制定
benefit
相关的政
local
策，
enterprises
也帮
with
助
the
中央政府
policies
这
coming
些政
out.
策呢能够落地见
And
效。
those
第三
will
呢，在今
also
年的
be
下半年，我
helpful
们还
of
将组
implementing the
织
central
第三
government's
方的评估
policies.
机
And
构
thirdly,
对
we
各
will
地
invite the
落
third
实这些政
party
策的情况
evaluation
做一个
organization
第三方的
to
这个
do
评
such a
估
third party evaluation
根本的
of
就是
the
一个目
situation of those
能够
SMEs.
使
The
这些政策呢
fundamental
尽快
target
地落
of those
实落地
measures
使
is
广大的
to
中小企业
execute
呢
such
能够真正
policies so that the SMEs will have a higher sense of attainment and conquer difficulties right now. Thank you.
请继续提问。
The next question, please.
请南区第一排靠近过道的
In
这
the
位女
first
士。
row, the lady next to the corridor.
谢谢主持人。南
Thank
方都市
you.
报记者提问，请问部长，您如何
My
看待新
question
能源
is,
汽车的发展
what's your
形势？
take on
接
the
下来新能
development
源汽车
situation
还会有
of
哪些发展
an
政策？
EV,
谢谢。
and what will be certain policies about encouraging the development of NEVs? Since the outbreak of COVID-19, the new energy vehicles, just like the traditional fuel-burning vehicles, their production and sales have been undermined because of the epidemic. The central Chinese government has realized such problems, and accordingly, they have made measures to support the development of NEVs. In details, by the end of this year, the subsidies of the NEVs and the reduction and exemption of the NEV-related purchase tax will be extended for another 2 years in order to trigger more sales and production of the NEVs. By April this year, the production volume of NEVs have already reached the same level in April last year, so we are confident about the future. For the next step, there are 3 major areas for us to work on. One is the supply side, the other is the demand side, and also the utilization. We will continue to delegate power and decentralize, for example, using the agents for NEV production. And for some capable enterprises, they could handle the measurements and inspection on themselves to avoid repeated inspection and examination. And also, we will authorize branding. And on the part of the demand side, in addition to the fiscal support, like the taxation, preferential treatment, we will encourage the new modes of changing batteries. We will also call upon the localities to serve this national call, for example, purchasing more NEVs in their government agencies, like even the sanitary purpose cars or buses and taxis. If they have conditions, we will encourage the usage of the NEVs in different areas. We will also increase the demand for those NEVs. As to utilization, we will continue to establish more charging poles and other infrastructure. We also want to build a connection of those facilities. We encourage local governments to offer some favorable conditions like the parking facilities and other policies. All in all, we will continue to pay attention to the NEV development, so they will have a more favorable environment of future development, and more customers will prefer NEVs.
好，请继续提问。
Next question, please.
请北区第4排，靠过道的这位女士。
The lady from the 4th row by the aisle.
谢谢主持人。科技
Thank
报
you,
记者
moderator.
提
I'm
问
with
苗部长
Science
您好
Daily. And
，5G
good
商用
afternoon,
已快1
Mr.
年，请问
Miao.
如
And
何发挥 5G 的
5G has
辐
been
射带动作
commercially
用，更好
applied
地
for
支撑
1
经济
year.
社会
And
发展？
how do
谢
we
谢。
leverage the role of 5G and so that it can support the economic development? Since this year, 5G has accelerated its pace of construction. Despite of the pandemic, in January and March, there were some impact, but some enterprises are stepping up their efforts so as to buy more time. And now on the vast Chinese land. Every week we can add 50,000 5G bases, and in April alone we had more than 7 million 5G users, and in accumulative terms we have altogether 36 million 5G users. And I want to give you 3 scenarios of 5G application. The first is that when we were at the worst time of pandemic, academician Zhong Nanshan communicated with a distance hospital and conducted treatment to 5 patients of COVID-19, and all the images transmitted through 5G are very clear, and this is very helpful to the diagnosis and the treatment of the patients. The second scenario I want to introduce to you is this video conference connection, and this is a combination of 5G plus 4K and 8K, and this is high resolution communication, and this is a giant screen, but you all appear very crystal clear and very vivid on the screen. And another scenario is that not long ago, before the 2 sessions at the Xinhua News Agency, we had a video connect with all the NPC deputies, and although the journalists are 1,000 miles away from the deputies, but it looks as if that they were conducting a face-to-face communication. So all these 3 scenarios indicate that with the technological improvements of 5G, with more 5G bases, in the future there will be more scenarios of similar kind, and we sincerely hope that by the time of the Olympic Winter Games in 2022 there will be more 5G users, and more users will be enjoying the Olympic Winter Games through 5G. Thank you very much, Minister Miao. Thank you.
下面我们有请第3位部长。
Now let's welcome the third minister.
生态环境
Thank you
部
very
黄润
much
秋部长。
to Mr. Huang Renqiu, Minister of Ecology and Environment.
好，下
Thank you
面我
very
们开始
much.
提问，
Now the floor is
请记者
open
朋
for
友提问。
questions.
请南区第3排这个靠近这边第2位这个穿白色套装的这位女士。
The lady from the 3rd row in the south zone, please.
谢谢主持人黄部
Thank you
长
very
您好
much.
我是北京广播电视台的
I'm
记
with
者。我们看到受到疫
Beijing
情的影
Broadcasting
响，
Station,
经济社
and
会
because
发
of
展
the
工作的压力
pandemic,
呢在
there is
不断的加大。
tremendous
那
amount
么
of
因为我们的
pressure
生态
in
环境
social and
的
economic
保护工
development,
作
and
提出
there
了
is
新的
also
要求和挑战。
great
我想
burden
请
on
您介
China's
绍一下
ecology
生态
and
环境部
environment.
将怎样
And
进一步的
may I
统筹
ask you
发
how
展做好
will
疫
your
情防
ministry
控和生态环境保护工作。
focus on environmental protection while at the same
好
time
的，感谢这位记
protect
者朋友的提问。
the society from
正像您
the
刚才提
pandemic?
到的，
Thank you very much for your question. As you have rightly mentioned, that this year is quite extraordinary because this is the ending of year of the 13th five-year plan, and we have to also claim victory on poverty eradication and also build a moderately well-off society. And at the beginning part of this year, we were affected by the COVID-19, and as President Xi Jinping has said that a moderately well-off society is very important for also the ecology and environment of the country. So that is why going forward we will have to coordinate our efforts in protecting the eco-environment so that we can also present a good result to building a moderately well-off society. And to that end, we have the following deliberations. First, we believe it is imperative to put environmental protection as a strategic direction. And we have to embrace the new development philosophy, and we have to maintain this strength and our momentum and focus on the right direction. And we cannot slacken our effort because of the pandemic. We cannot slacken our efforts on protecting the environment simply because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And if we do that, we will return to the old times where we achieved economic growth at the sacrifice of environmental pollution, or we will travel back to the old path of polluting first and then disposing the pollution. And this is a scenario not accepted by all the cadres and the people in the country. And over the years, with the leadership of the CPC Central Committee and with efforts from all sides, China has scored significantly in environmental protection. If we travel back to the old path, then we're gonna waste all the efforts that we have made over the years, and this is not a result that people want to see. So we will maintain focus on grasping with this direction, and we have to stay focused on putting environmental protection and green development in the first place, and also abide by the law while protecting our environment. And third, hold the bottom line in protecting the eco-environment, and we will not change our principles and strategies, and we will not waver in our targets. While maintaining a strategic focus on environmental protection, we also need to take into consideration the impact of COVID-19 to social and economic developments, and we will maintain a proper pace. And this is an issue of tactic, not an issue of strategy. And we're talking about special or specific tactics. I believe that we will have to pay more attention to targeted pollution control and science-based pollution control and law-abiding pollution control. And while controlling pollution, we have to take into the consideration of the realities of different localities. And recently, the Ministry of Ecology and the Environment has put forward 5 precisions, including precision on questions, on locations, on targets, and also on measures. In addition to that, in order to promote and support the reopening of the economy and also to serve the 6 guarantees, and we have released 2 question lists, and the one is on environmentally related law enforcement, and the other is on the problem list of environmental protection. And those 2 lists were widely recognized by the local government. So in general, we have to put our efforts at the right place, and if we could do that, we will claim a victory in environmental protection. And we have long been opposed to extensive efforts. Another point I would like to share with you is that this year, amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, we will pay more attention to guidance to the local regions and governments. So that is why starting from May this year, we have dispatched a number of instruction teams to different localities at the municipal and county level, and also in some enterprises to identify some of the problems and solve the problems that are most related to people's livelihood, and also to improve the capacity of the local government. In the meantime, we also pay more attention to technologies, to capacity, so that different localities and enterprises can have a targeted measure, so that we can also promote the developments of those enterprises. So in general, at this special year, at a time when we are still dealing with the pandemic, we have to maintain focused and maintain a moderately stable pace in protecting our environment. And we have to adopt a target-oriented approach so that we can perfectly manage the pace and strength of our efforts, so that we can provide support to the 6 guarantees and 6 stabilizations initiative. And in so doing, we could accomplish our efforts and also play a service to the building of a moderately well society. Next question, please. The lady from the first row in the north zone.
谢谢部长您好，我
Thank
是
you
中
very
国
much.
青年报
I'm
记
with
者。
China Youth
今年
Daily.
呢，北京收获了近年来最多的蓝天。
Last year,
13.5
Beijing
在即，
saw
请
a
问万豪
record
制工
high
程站
number
的
of blue
进展如何？
skies
我们所
or
确立
blue
的
sky
蓝
days.
天、
And
地
so
水、
what
净土、保卫战
measures
的
do you
各项
have
目标
in
能否实现？
meeting
另
the
外，在这几
targets
天的讨
of
论中，代表委员也十分
winning
关
the
心
battle against the
“十四
pollution
五”的
this year?
环保
And
规划。
all the
那
deputies
么
are very
“十四五”我们
concerned
要
about
做
the
出什么样
targets
的
of
部
the
署
14th
来建
five-year
设美
plan
丽中
and
国？谢
what
谢。
ideas do you have about the 14th five-year plan in relation to environmental protection? Thank you very much for your question. And it has been 4 years since we launched the 13th five-year plan. In general, it has been moving very smoothly, and since the end of last year and to the beginning of this year, according to our statistics, all the indexes and parameters are showing good results. The 9 restrictive goals enshrined in the 13th five-year plan, among which 7 have completed, and this includes 4 total volume targets, and this includes carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and other pollutants. And we have also accomplished 3 indexes, and the first is PM 2.5. According to the general plan of the 13th five-year plan, the PM 2.5 index by 2025 will reduce 18% as compared to 2015, and by the end of 2019 we have already saw a decrease of 26.1%, and we also see very good indexes related to water. To put it in plain language, good quality water, according to the 13th five-year plan, has to account for 70%, and by the end of last year we already achieved 74.95%. And also in plain language, low quality water, according to the 13th five-year plan, has to account for less than 5%, and the figure already reached 4% by the end of last year. So we are going to have a good overall volume of those parameters and also high quality of some of the indexes, and this is also aligning to the feeling of the ordinary residents, and everybody is seeing more blue skies and clearer weather, but still we are falling behind in 2 parameters. The first is the per capita GDP level of carbon emission, and another is the high quality days in cities above the municipal level, and we have the confidence to accomplish these 2 targets. And you mentioned how did we, so this is a response to your first part of the question. As for the 14th five-year plan, I'd like to say that we have to be mindful that at present ecological and environmental protection in China still faces a arduous task. We have to be mindful that the improvement of air quality in China is only a minor improvement at the lower level. So we are still falling behind with the expectations of the people on building a beautiful China. So we have to, we can summarize the current situation with 3 lines, and 3 things remain unchanged. The first is that China's industrial structure and energy structure has not changed. The second is that the contradiction between ecological protection and environmental pollution has not changed. And the third is that the dynamism of highly occurring environmental incidents hasn't changed.
So, taking into consideration of the 3 unchanged facts, we are still challenged. To put it another way, the quality improvement of the environment has not been welcoming its turning point yet. In the 14th Five-Year Plan, we need to keep up the good efforts and conquer difficulties. On the basis of such situation, we have two considerations for the 14th Five-Year Plan. One, we need to work on two areas. One is pollution control and environmental management, particularly the source of environmental pollution. That is the most effective way to avoid environmental pollution and improve the quality of the environment. We need to continue the pollution control efforts in the 14th Five-Year Plan period, and also we need to take targeted measures and law-based measures. Secondly, we must restore the ecology, particularly the pastures, mountainous areas, the water regions, and we need to improve the supervision. We need to enlarge the contents of our environmental and ecological protection. At the same time, we must restructure our industries and encourage the green development and pursue a more healthy lifestyle and promote healthy and ecology-based products to the common people. And finally, we will put our efforts into improving the capacity of ecological development and build a system for that purpose. According to the CPC Central Committee, we will build a lot of systems like the leadership accountability system, the accountability and performance evaluation system of the enterprises, the credit system, and some institutional design to guarantee the implementation. From the source to the process management, to the outcomes, evaluation, and the penalties of any damage occurred, we will have accountability. I believe that in the 14th Five-Year Plan period, with the whole chain system of ecological management and environmental protection, our capacity will be boosted in a great deal.
And that was Monday's Ministers' Corridor. Three ministers, namely Minister of Commerce, Minister of Industry and IT, and Minister of Ecology and Environment, have talked to the press and addressed the topics that they concerned most. And for more on that, let's talk to our guests. Professor